Hey, what's up everybody? This is Matrix with Mo and I am Mr. Mo. I've got another video for you today. It's been a little bit since I uploaded anything, so I thought it was time I should put a new video up. A client sent over a sketch of a ring similar to this one here, and it's round and Marquise shapes, half eternity with 1.5 millimeter diamonds. And I made this one. They liked it. They requested a second ring that was a full eternity. So I will show you my workflow on how to create a full eternity with round and marquee shapes. All right, so let's jump over to Matrix and I'll show you step one. All right, so here we have the finished eternity ring. So this is kind of where we're headed. And when I was setting this up, my first challenge was I needed to figure out the length of these marquee shapes so that I could fit them around the circumference of a size 5. All right, so the first thing I did, let me go ahead and delete this, and we'll bring out a size 5 ring rail. Okay, and then I'll get a stone. We're using 1 millimeter or 1.5 millimeter round diamonds. So there's that. And I'll turn on gumball, grab this stone and drag it up. And I'll put the qulet in line with the ring rail, and then with gumball I will move this up 0.8 millimeter. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and build my bezel. So F6 on the stone, we'll get our bezel builder, and I'll adjust this real quick. Drop my seat height down to level with the table of the stone. Thickness I'm going to put at 0.5. And I don't want any chamfer here, so I'll set these X and Z to 0. All right, and then my angle, let's do -5 degrees there. And bottom thickness will also set to 0.5. So I'll hit enter. Okay, and then I know that I'm gonna need 8 of these so that I have top and bottom, the round stones on the, basically at the quads, and then splitting the difference between the quads. So I'm going to do a polar array with these. So I'll go to transform, polar array, center of array is at F4. Number of items is going to be 8. Enter, enter again. Here's my preview, that looks great. So enter that. All right, and now I can take a measurement, and I like to use my align dimension tool, and I get a measurement between these two bezels. Okay, so there I've got 5.03. So that means I'm going to make my marquee shapes have a length of 5 millimeters. Okay. All right, so on to step 2. For the time being, I will hide my bezels and these stones, and I'll go ahead and grab a new stone, same size. I'll turn this one on Gen 1 layer, and so that way we can turn these off. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in the looking down view here. I'll hide my ring rail. And so now we can set up our marquee shape. We know our length, so I'm gonna draw a line with single line from both sides. And we'll go F4, 2.5 on each side. So enter there, hold shift, click, and I'll make that red for now. Okay, so that's my length, 5 millimeters. And then our width is going to be based upon the wall thickness of the marquee shape and a little bit of space between the edge of the girdle of the stone and that wall. So that means I want to give myself about 0.1 between the girdle and the wall, and then I want a 0.5 millimeter wall. So I'm going to take 1.5 and then add 0.6 on either side. So that's going to give me a total of 2.7 millimeters. So our single line dimension from both sides is going to be 1.35. So 1.35, enter, hold shift and click. All right, and that is my width measurement. All right, and then all I have to do now is make an arc to get my marquee shape, and to do that I'm going to go up into curves, arcs, and I like to use the start point end arc for this. So I can click on here, up to there, and then to the end of that line. Okay, and then let's make that green. I can mirror that. Then I want to do an offset here of 0.5. So offset curve, this one, distance is 0.5. Do the same thing to this one. And then I will highlight these, trim them up, and put those on orange. Okay, and so that's going to represent my wall thickness, and then my space between the girdle and the wall is 0.1. All right, so next step here is we're going to do some lofts to create this shape of our marquee. If I bring back my ring rail and bezels here, I'm going to measure this bezel. It's 1.8. I want my marquee to stick out through the ring rail a little bit, so I'm going to make them be about 2.4 tall, just to give me some room to work with. I also want this marquee to taper a little bit and have some angle similar to the angle of the bezel here, which was -5 degrees. I might go a little bit more and make the angle on this marquee shape to be about 10. To do that, I will just draw a line representing the height of my marquee shape here, which I decided I wanted 2.4. I'll do a rotate with this from this point to this point with an angle of 10. So that established my angle of my marquee. And if I want to, I can mirror this over. And then I need to drop this down in between these 2 points. And so I can use one of my favorite tools for that under the transform menu is orient 2 points. And I want to orient from there to there down to these points at the bottom here. Okay, so that's easy. And then from here I can do a loft. You could also sweep this if you want, but loft is fast. Okay, so there's my marquee shape. And I will join these 2 walls together. And then I'll go ahead and cap it. So it's fast just to type it in, cap. Up there, cap the top and bottom off. And then I'm going to drop this stone down so that the table is flush. That looks good. And now I can use, we had these bezels. Now I can use these orange lines, or offsets, 0.5 millimeter offset there to split the top surface and drop that piece down. So I'll click on the marquee shape, go over here to split, use these 2 curves to split it. Okay, now I've got a separate piece and I can turn on ghosted mode and drop this piece down just so that the floor is going to be just below my girdle. Okay, and then I'll shade this back. And now we can loft again to close this up because we need to put some walls in. So I'll go loft from this edge to this edge. Okay, same here. Very good. And then we'll just join all this. Actually, I don't want to join the curves. So I'll just select my surfaces and join those together. All right. So that's all looking good. At this point, I can go ahead and do I'll put in a chamfer here to make it look like it's been bright cut, which you could wait and do that at the bench with some gravers, but might as well get it started. So I'll go ahead and solid. Actually, we want to go up to the solid drop down here and find fillet edge, chamfer edge. Okay, and I'll set my chamfer distance to 0.2. And we'll chamfer this one and that one. And I'll turn off some of these layers, and so that's looking pretty good. All right, so let's go ahead and build our prongs for this guy. We'll come over to setting, prong adder, drop our stone down in here, and we'll go ahead and prong diameter. Let's see, you could do, it's a 1.5 millimeter stone, so you could do 0.5, 0.6, something like that will be fine. Drag these down. Oh, I forgot, we've got 4 prongs going here. I need to change my gym orientation. So we'll say gym north, and then we'll do our two prongs to make those be on our east-west orientation here. All right, so my prong height was 0.3. You could make those a little taller if you want to have some wiggle room there. And let's see what else. Need to change my nudge factor. And I will bring this in. Let's see, I'm going to change my shade mode here so that we can see this facet line here, and I'll drag my nudge in about 30, 35 is probably good. You could go 40 if you wanted, since this isn't going to be a shared prong situation. All right, and then just make sure your drop is, we want our prongs to be sunk down into that surface so they're not floating. All right, everything looks good. You could change the taper if you want. I'll leave it in. But if you want these not to be tapered, you can just make that be 0. All right, so we'll go ahead and hit enter on that. Okay, so there's our setup for our marquee, and now we can go about dropping that into position on the ring. So let's bring back our ring rail, bezels, and easiest way to do this, bring back our stones. Here's what I want to do. I want a stone that's directly in between these two stones. Okay, so what I will do is delete these and oops. I will pull an array again, this time with 16 stones. So we'll go to transform, pull array, make sure I'm in my through finger view, F4. Number of items is going to be 16. Enter, enter again. All right. Now, the reason I did that is because I want to put this stone into gem view. Okay. So this tool is awesome. Reorients these three viewports so that this gemstone is now facing straight up. And now I can rotate this from this point to this point. Okay, hold shift. Oops, let's try that again. Hold shift. And I want to line up the center line with this axis, the center line of my grid here. And I'm just eyeballing it here. You could do something to make this more precise, but this should be fine for the demo. Okay, and so now all I want to do is drag this up until my marquee, the top of my marquee, is level with the bezels. Okay, that's pretty close. I've got my grid snaps turned off here so that those aren't interfering with my movement. Okay, and that looks good. So I can delete that stone and these stones here. I don't need them anymore because now I can pull an array this piece. Okay, so I'll just grab my Marquise shape and my stone. I don't really need my curves. I'll turn Gym View off. And I'm gonna polar array this one from F4 and through finger view. Oops, make sure I select these again. F4, number of items 8. Okay, there's my preview, looking good. Enter. Almost done. So all I have to do now is we'll take these shapes and we'll cut to finger rail. Cutters, cut to finger rail. All right. Not bad. So one thing you might want to do, these overlap, but there's not a whole lot of metal there as far as a strength perspective goes. So what I did, actually just swept a rectangular shaped profile around and put a little extra metal in between these two bezels, and just to strengthen it up a little bit. So that's pretty easy to do just with profile placer. Get your ring rail. So you could use rectangle with rounded corners. You could probably also use an oval. You could make a custom profile if you wanted. But just for the demo here, I will use this profile. We'll make our width something like 1 millimeter. Our height, drag that in, maybe 1.6. Let's go with that, see how it looks. So here I just need to highlight my ring rail, F6. I'll do a sweep 1 history with that profile, enter. Okay, so that you can see that just fills in the gaps a little bit. Gives you a little extra material for strength, and you could even come back in after casting and remove some material here if you need to. So at this point, all I would have to do is a Boolean difference and split away all this stuff, and that's pretty much it as far as that goes. Maybe put some gem cutters in here on these stones. And you could have the hole coming all the way through here if you want. Or you could just use the little divot style cutter. Like that. And sometimes I'll even scale this in 95 and pick up the Z height, the offset, just a hair. So that way you can get in there with a burr and make it the right size for the stone you have, just in case all your stones aren't exactly 1.5, which is pretty common out there, as you know. So you could take these, we'll go to our Boolean builder, make those our cutters. And we'll do these as our objects to cut. Turn on 1 by 1, we don't need to keep them. Okay. So that's looking good. We'll call it done. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and stay tuned. I'm going to try to post more videos more frequently, so hope you guys enjoy. Take care.